أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum dear viewers and welcome to Women's View on Ahlulbayt TV. Today we have a special global hijab awareness show and we'll be speaking to a convert sister called Leyla Hussain who will be sharing with us her story. As you all know that the Quran and narrations clearly enjoin both men and women to dress modestly and to act modestly. So today inshallah we'll be speaking to a sister who has adopted the notion of hijab and we'll be speaking about how the changes she saw. So I'm your host Zahra Al-Alawi and today with me is Sister Leyla Hussain. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
First of all, tell us a bit more about yourself.
I converted to Islam 6 years ago and I was from a Jewish background.
Okay.
So in terms of hijab, I was already more or less used to cover up.
Yeah, I used to live in a very Jewish community as well, and you know, the way they dress is quite similar to the notion of hijab. You know, they used to wear long dress skirts and even with a cloth on their head as well.
Yes.
So it's quite similar.
That's right, yes. It wasn't very difficult to actually go to the full Muslim hijab, but the perception of it is very different from, you know, other people's point of view. They would probably respect the Jewish women more than the Muslim women.
Okay. So, I mean, before converting and before wearing hijab, how was your life before adopting hijab? I mean, the Muslim notion of hijab and converting.
I was living always, my parents brought me up with very strict moral values. So I was kind of used to the same thing that Muslim girls are used to, so I was not going out or not mixing up with, you know, other boys or trying to obviously keep my distances. And in terms of dressing up, I was not allowed to wear short skirts or, you know, anything too revealing. So
definitely, yeah. Before wearing the hijab and converting, what was your impression of Muslim women or the hijab, I mean the full hijab? What was your impression of that?
To be quite honest, although we were brought up with some sort of hatred of Muslims, I was always fascinated by the ladies in hijab. I found them very pure. I always found the Muslim ladies looking very dignified, and I thought that was they were beautiful in some way, but that was really purely on the outside point of view. It's not that I appreciated Islam or anything like that. It was just the way they looked.
Definitely. I mean, do you know there's this idea of Muslim women that they're oppressed when wearing hijab or they're forced to wear hijab or, you know, that kind of limits their ability. Did you ever have that impression of Muslim women where when you looked at a Muslim woman or saw a Muslim woman, you thought, okay, she's oppressed or, you know, has her family telling her to wear? Because some people do have that. I've spoken to some converts. Did you ever have that?
Yeah. I did think that the Muslim women were oppressed, but I didn't think that their clothes were oppressing them because myself, I was already dressing up differently than the norm in where I was living. So that wasn't really the issue. I think the oppression was more in the Islamic point of view. I thought that the Muslim women, you know, were obviously receiving quite a lot of prejudice from their family, husband, brothers, fathers. But the way that they were dressed, I didn't think that there was some sort of oppressive condition.
Okay. So what inspired you, I mean, to turn to Islam and to adopt the Muslim dress code? What was your first inspiration?
My first inspiration, apart from the Azan, which I fell in love with, was the Quran.
Wow.
And all the evidence that I found that this was the true religion, because they were accepting all the prophets, the imamat as well, was something that was very logical to me. So as soon as I started as soon as I became a Muslim, for me, I absolutely had to dress up as a Muslim as well in order to be identified as a Muslim as well.
Yeah.
So I did adopt the hijab, the head covering, straight away with no problem whatsoever. And I think at the beginning, maybe my hijab was a bit weak because I was still trying to look good from from outside. But then slowly, as I was gaining knowledge, I actually understood that hijab is not just from the outer point of view, but it's also from the inside, having that sort of reserve from within as well. So I think I just started to learn more and more about what hijab is about, and cover better, and also my attitude towards others, started to be better also.
Yeah, it's very interesting you say that, because many people that even born Muslims, I mean, they see hijab as just a form of clothing, but there's so many dimensions to it, like the attitude, the social hijab, everything. But many people don't see it as an overall thing. When you started wearing hijab, I mean, or converting to Islam, obviously you belong to a Jewish family, and it is similar in a way, like you said. But how did your family react to you adopting the whole Muslim hijab?
Very badly. They thought that I was actually restricting myself, because I was living in France, which is a country which bans the hijab completely. So you can't go to school, you can't go to work, you are completely cut out from any social life when you wear the scarf. So it was very difficult for them to think that I would actually put my life at risk on a social point of view, just to wear clothes, to wear extra clothes. For them, it was just that. It was just, okay, you don't need that to be Muslim. You don't need to wear a scarf to be Muslim. You can just believe in your heart. And for me, it was something that is very important, because it's mentioned in the Quran, and there are so many mentions in the prophetic traditions about the importance of the hijab and being recognized as a Muslim in order to gain their respect. For me, I wasn't prepared to just let that go, because for me it's more than just wearing some clothes, you see.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, although the Jewish community do wear sort of hijab, was there such a big difference? I mean, when you started to wear the Muslim hijab, did they sense a big difference?
Yes, because the Jewish ladies do not cover their neck, for example. You can also, some parts of the body, like, the arms can be bare. So there is a difference. And the way that the Muslim women cover their head is very particular. I think it's exclusive to Muslim women, or probably nuns for the Christians. But there is no, I mean, if you see someone with the hijab, you would know straight away that it's a Muslim. It can't be anyone else, any other religion. Yeah. So it is quite different. And for me, coming from a Jewish background, it was kind of difficult for them to accept, that I had become Muslim, and that I was identified as such, especially for my family. Yeah. It was something very difficult for them to accept.
Definitely, yeah. Like with many converts as well. But you mentioned that you come from France. I mean, France has been a whole controversy regarding the hijab, the niqab, and everything regarding the hijab. I mean, it's banned in schools, I believe.
Yes.
Did you feel did that prevent you in any way of wanting to wear hijab, or was that a barrier? Or, I mean, many people that may push them away from hijab when they see that their country are reacting so strongly to the notion of hijab. Did that have any effect on you?
Not at all, no. Because I was so convinced about that I was on the truth. For me, it didn't really matter. I mean, of course, I struggled a lot because I did want to find a job, and it was very frustrating that people were not ready to take me for the qualities that I have, but that my outer appearance was actually more important suddenly. Because I've got a scarf on my head, I can't do my job properly. Because I've got a scarf on my head, I can't go and study. It was actually making me very angry at people, because I realized that this society is all about the appearance and not what people are really about.
No, definitely. I mean, talking about society, when you look around you, we see the way that females are representative, both in the media. They are degraded, and then they turn around and say that we're degraded. So, society itself does have double standards to begin with.
That's true. I feel it's a bit generic to say that the hijab has liberated me, because again, I feel that it's also about your how you behave. Also, it's not just about the wearing the scarf, but in some sense, I feel that the hijab does put a barrier between you and, for example, the opposite sex, so that they're not interested in you as just a female, but they're more interested in your character, in what you can bring if you work, what you can bring to the companies. In terms of friends, it's more about your real qualities. Whereas I feel that for people who are very free in their manner of dressing up, there are so many more things that come into place, like the way that they look, always the rush to look better and to attract people. So that's I think that the point of hijab as well is putting that barrier and say, here I am, a Muslim woman, and look at me for what I am and not what I look like, and not, to satisfy some sort of instincts or desires.
Definitely, yeah, that's very powerful words. I mean, they always think that the purpose of a woman is to look good, and that's what we need to concentrate on when, like you said, it's our intellect and our knowledge and our abilities and capabilities that we need to focus on to further ourselves in life. So I totally agree with you. Before converting, I mean, was your definition of modesty different than how it is now? Because when I speak to my non-Muslim friends now, for instance, and they even sometimes watch the show and watch my shows, they tell me, well, our modesty, you can just wear a pair of jeans and, a top and not reveal too much, and that's modesty for us. And whereas obviously my definition of modesty is different, as described by the Quran and my religion. Yeah. So was your definition of modesty before converting different than how it is now?
It was, yes. I feel now that I'm some kind of ambassador for my religion. I feel that when someone sees me with the full Muslim Islamic covering, I have a duty to actually behave better because I represent my religion. Whereas if you only wear a pair of jeans and yes, you can behave decently, it doesn't go against that. You can still do that, but for people, you're not necessarily a Muslim. Whereas for a woman, I think that if she does wear the hijab, then that what makes her a Muslim in the eyes of other people, and therefore they're going to look at your behavior. How are you acting with people? What kind of person are you? And if you show a good akhlaq, then I believe that this also helps to give a good name to Muslims and to Islam.
That's true.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, it's like it's a reminder for me. It's like when I go out and I'm wearing hijab, if I do anything, then it's constantly reminding me I need to behave a certain way. So it kind of encourages you to have that social hijab as well, having the physical one.
That's true.
Growing up in the West, I mean, many people that grow up here, I don't know how it is in France, but many of the youth here, the teenagers, what they struggle with, even the ones that have emailed the show and emailed Ahlulbayt TV and phone us, they say during that period of teenage years, there's this battle for identity where, you need to, for example, have wear sport kit with Adidas or Nike in it, or you need to dress a certain way, and then there's pressures of dressing a certain way. Do you think having a identity, for example, hijab, this is our dress code, this is our identity, do you think that will help younger girls fight against this whole battle of identity in their youth?
Most definitely, because it gives you a sense of belonging. What are all the brands about? Is all about belonging to a certain clan or a certain group. So if you do adopt the hijab, then you are just, in a sense, you are saying to everybody, I am a Muslim. That's what I belong to, and that's what my belief is. And therefore, all the material Nike and Adidas and all these things, they become obsolete. I think.
Definitely, yeah. When we come to such a situation where people wear hijab, I mean, we've seen this as well in the past where people are wearing the physical hijab, but they abuse it, both in the social aspect, for example, interacting with the opposite gender in a negative way, or behaving in a bad manner. For example, there's even sisters, unfortunately, to say that they perhaps, swear or say foul language while wearing the hijab. And this is very unfortunate to say this, but this is a reality, so that's why I'm saying it. But do you think that can have a bad effect on hijab? For example, when a non-Muslim sees Muslim women behaving like that, wearing hijab, do you think that can have a bad impact on the whole notion of hijab and understanding hijab?
Definitely. I think if the sisters that unfortunately don't have the knowledge to understand that there is a certain behavior that goes along with wearing the hijab, that it's not just a cultural thing. The image that they bring to the non-Muslim is that it's just a garment, it's just something that they wear because they have to. But maybe if they had the choice, then they wouldn't wear it. They would be exactly like them. Especially, I know about the swearing, for example. Unfortunately, I know this happens quite a lot. Or even, Nauzubillah, the free mixing with men. Or the wrong hijab as well, or having just a scarf on and short sleeves. Or
I've seen that in someone else.
All sorts of attitudes like this that are completely contradicting the very notion of hijab. So yeah, I think definitely it brings a bad image, that it's just something that somehow we have to wear, as opposed to a personal choice and a reasoned choice.
Definitely, yeah. Well, we're popping off for a quick break, so inshallah we'll come back after the break to discuss more. For the audience at home, we have Sister Leyla here, a convert to Islam, and also a sister who has adopted the notion of hijab. So for all the sisters out there that emailed us and have difficulties with hijab, then definitely some advice given here. So we'll be back in a few minutes. Don't go away, inshallah. We have much more to discuss, and we'll be speaking about many more aspects regarding hijab. So see you in a few minutes. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
حق الرعية بملك النكاح.
وأما حق رعيتك بملك النكاح فأن تعلم أن الله جعلها سكنا ومستراحا وأنسا ووقايا، وكذلك كل واحد منكما يجب أن يحمد الله على صاحبه ويعلم أن ذلك نعمة منه عليه، ووجب أن يحسن صحبة نعمة الله ويكرمها ويرفق بها، وإن كان حقك عليها أغلظ وطاعتك بها ألزم فيما أحببت وكرهت ما لم تكن معصية، فإن لها حق الرحمة والمؤانسة، ولا قوة إلا بالله.
حق الأم.
وأما حق الرحم فحق أمك أن تعلم أنها حملتك حيث لا يحمل أحد أحدا، وأطعمتك من ثمرة قلبها ما لا يطعم أحد أحدا، وأنها وقتك بسمعها وبصرها ويدها ورجلها وشعرها وبشرها وجميع جوارحها مستبشرة فرحة محتملة لما فيه مكروهها وألمها وثقلها وغمها، حتى دفعتها عنك يد القدرة وأخرجتك إلى الأرض، فرضيت أن تشبع وتجوع هي وتكسوك وتعرى وترويك وتظمى وتظلك وتضحى وتنعمك ببؤسها وتلذذك بالنوم بأرقها وكان بطنها لك وعاء وحجرها لك حواء وثديها لك سقاء ونفسها لك وقاء تباشر حر الدنيا وبردها لك ودونك فتشكرها على قدر ذلك ولا تقدر عليه إلا بعون الله وتوفيقه.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers, and welcome back to Women's View on Ahlulbayt TV. Now, if you were tuned in before the break, we do have Sister Leyla Hussain here with us when we were speaking about the notion of hijab. Now, we mentioned a lot of interesting points before the break, but inshallah now we'll be speaking about Sister Layla's story and more about the obstacles that we face in hijab and how we can overcome them. So once again, I'm your host, Zahra Al-Alawi, and today with me is Sister Leyla Hussain. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Before the break, we spoke about many aspects regarding hijab, your story to hijab, the reactions, but now inshallah we'll be speaking about more of the obstacles and more about hijab. There's one thing I wanted to mention, because obviously now everybody knows that with the whole media attention and the incidents that occurred, Islam is seen as in a negative light, and many people associate Muslims with terrorists because of the incidents that took place. And one thing that did come under the limelight was hijab, and there was many incidents of sisters getting attacked because of wearing hijab. And many sisters took off their hijab. I remember a sister emailed us when me and Rebecca done a show, and she said that she took off her hijab because of September the 11th. She was scared that she may get attacked. But do you think that kind of pushed a lot of people away from hijab? And what would you say to anyone that is facing that kind of situation?
I have faced myself that sort of situation. So in this country and also in France, where in this country I've been told literally to come back where I come from.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I've been spat at because of my head covering, and I think more so because I am white and maybe I look like a British woman. There is that sort of hatred for the fact that I have become Muslim. I do think the reverts I've got quite a hard time with the British people, or from their own community, really, because they're seen as some sort of traitor, as you say, especially after the events of 7/7 or 9/11. We are seen as going on the side of the enemy, really, and that is a problem. And I think for brothers who do convert, then it doesn't show on them really that they've become Muslim. But for us, it shows straight away. So yes, sometimes wearing the hijab does bring some problems. For myself, it's never really bothered me, in the sense I would never think of taking off the hijab because of someone telling me to, take it off. I wouldn't do that. Yeah. So my advice to the sisters to who it happened is just remain faithful and remain strong and never lose focus that we're doing that for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're not doing it for anyone. We're not doing it even for ourselves, really. We're just doing it to please our Lord and to try to attain paradise. So obviously it's not the only element to gain paradise, but for a Muslim woman it's very important to be dignified in the conduct and the appearance. And therefore, hijab has to be worn. And anyone that says anything, really, it shouldn't matter, because what matters is what our Lord says and what our Prophet has said to us and what the Imams have, said in their narrations.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, it's sad to hear all these stories that did take place after the incidents. I mean, I've heard many stories as well. And once I remember I was walking in a bus as well, and it was late at night. We used to go to the mosques because we used to go by transport. And then we walked into the bus and someone started shouting, Khomeini, Khomeini. I don't know why, but sometimes, like, it was me and my sisters, and me and my sisters just looked at it in a humorous way. I think sometimes you shouldn't let these things affect you. And I told this to the sisters as well. I said, you know, that happened to us once. And, you know, you just give them the benefit of the doubt. It's probably their ignorance. It's probably their lack of knowledge of the understanding of hijab. But I think, like you said, that you shouldn't let these stuff affect you. It's your faith. So definitely really good advice. What about the sisters that... this is another obstacle. I know I'm going through all the obstacles of hijab, but there's this other obstacle. Many of the sisters in the UK, I'm sure this happens in other European countries as well, and other Western countries. They kind of, when they go to college or interact in educational institutes, they always feel that they need to dress a certain way in order to fit in. They think that if we dress like this, for example, we're not going to fit in within the community and within our circles in the educational institutes. So what would you tell them? I mean, those who kind of compromise the hijab, whatever they do, like you said, in summer now we find many people wearing short sleeves and tight tops or tight clothing.
Yeah.
And what would you tell them, these sisters, or what would be your advice?
I think my advice wouldn't be to tackle that from the hijab point of view, but from the iman point of view, because at the end of the day, it's you're doing that for your faith, like I said earlier. Otherwise, it's meaningless to just wear hijab because you are ordered to. You have to understand why you are wearing it. So maybe, again, for those sisters who are not fully, maybe they don't believe fully in the reason why they should wear it, to go back to the basics and you know,
Yeah, to go back to basics and kind of read more about why we wear hijab.
Yes, and about why we are Muslims and how a Muslim should behave. And I think then hijab should come naturally, really, when this foundation is strong. Then hijab is just an accessory, if you want, in terms of struggle. It's not, especially in this country, I think we are quite favored that we can wear it everywhere, as opposed, for example, from my country of origin, where you cannot wear it at all. So here, there is no reason why a Muslim girl wouldn't wear it or could not wear it. You can have access to education, you can have access to a job, to absolutely everything. So I think we are very lucky, and we should take this opportunity to actually wear it and show the example to others.
Regarding the wearing hijab, and you mentioned the lack of understanding that people have, do you think that's, many sisters say, you know, we're not ready and issues like that, or they do not understand hijab, which is why they compromise their hijab. Do you think that many people do not understand what hijab is about? So they put the cloth on their head, they don't have that fundamental understanding, and that's why it leads to women abusing it.
Yes, I suppose that for a lot of the Muslim from here, it's cultural. So the parents may ask, okay, you have to dress a certain way, but they don't really understand why. I think, I mean, the way the people that I know and wear the hijab, they're quite happy to wear it because it's a pride for them. It's the woman's pride to actually cover themselves, to hide themselves from the eyes of everybody. And if you don't, if your iman is quite weak, then you don't understand that point. It's not something that is important to you. You want to just mix with other people. You want to live life to the full, how they say. And I think, again, I would say, again, going back to the basics and understand why you are Muslim. And because Islam is a religion that you have to adopt yourself. It's not a religion that is just passed on by the parents. So you have to understand why you are Muslim and you have to adopt the faith for yourself. So for that reason, just to try and understand the beauty of Islam, and then you will understand the beauty of hijab for the woman and the benefits of it.
Definitely, Definitely. You've mentioned you're a convert and you obviously adopted the notion of hijab. Do you feel there were many positives to you wearing hijab? Did you feel any changes in the way people reacted towards you, or people saw you or perceived you? Were there any positives to it?
Yes, the positive thing for me is people are more respectful. That's why I feel. There is also the natural barrier that is put between men and women, which when you don't wear the hijab does not appear. When you don't wear it, it seems like they are free to try anything or to talk to you in any manner. And when you wear the hijab, you are a lot more respected, I feel. You don't have these, jokes that sometimes happen, especially in the workplace. People take you for what you are because they don't see anything else than what you show to them. They don't judge your body. They don't judge your appearance. They judge your personality. And I found that very positive. And actually, I was a child who was very shy and very closed. And wearing the hijab has actually helped me to bring out my personality, because that's the only thing that I can show.
Yeah. Ending of the interview, what's your message to all the sisters out there? I mean, everyone watching now, from the sisters that wear hijab, from the sisters that don't wear hijab, from the sisters that are thinking of wearing hijab, what would your last message be?
My message to the sisters would be, first of all, like I pointed many times now, understand what being Muslim is about. Understand the chance that you have for those who have been born Muslim to not have had to go through struggle to actually be called a Muslim. And about wearing the hijab, see how beautiful a woman who is covered actually is, how beautiful it is to be taken for your own personality and not for any other low, means like appearance or beauty or anything like that. I think it empowers women because it brings out what they've got best in themselves, and it hides anything that is temporary. Because at the end of the day, in 10, 20 years' time, we're not going to be looking that good, but our personality is going to stay and shine. And people are going to be used to our own self and not what the outer appearance shows, which will anyway fade away.
Thank you very much, Leyla, for joining us today. It's been a pleasure having you on, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
For the audience at home, I mean, this is a very important message from a sister who converted to Islam and has worn hijab, and she adopted hijab on her own will. As we see that many sisters do struggle and have obstacles to wearing hijab, many people are not sure whether to wear hijab or whether to not. I hope this interview sparked a few interest in many sisters out there. But any of the sisters that have any questions or comments regarding today's shows or any of our future shows, then please do email us at hijab@ahlulbayt.tv. You can also email us at womensview@ahlulbayt.tv. And inshallah, if you have any questions or queries, or if you would like to come on the show and share your story, then please do email us. That's all for today. Inshallah, we'll be having more hijab awareness shows and more of Women's View. So stay tuned, and you can also join us on our Facebook, which is www.facebook.com/womensview. So inshallah, see you soon. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.